Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Right now I'm hanging out with my boy Doppler. We just went for our morning walk and now we're sitting on the top of the hill. Just kind of a good way to get the day started. But yeah, I wanted to just go ahead and do a real quick video because, I'm a hopeless optimist. Like, I'm always optimistic, and I've been that way for a long time, and that's probably why I've been able to weather a lot of the bumpy roads on this career path of being a professional angler. I started taking this industry seriously in about 2006 when I moved to Florida and went to college over there, lived in a travel trailer, just really kept my overhead low and focused on tournament fishing. But in that time, I also learned that the business side was really, really important. And it took me a long time to actually start making a living tournament fishing. I mean, at first I was a waiter at several different restaurants, including Red Lobster, and made a living that way, paid the bills, but it was like maxed out credit cards. It was financially volatile for a very, very long time. And then I got some big breaks that started to help me along. I've hosted Sweetwater, and that was kind of a turning point for me as far as like making a good income. Of course, I had some other great opportunities like the Big Bass Tour, and had some great sponsorships early on that really helped me along. But I think Sweetwater was kind of the turning point from going from not being a professional fisherman, because I wasn't making my entire living at it, or at least the majority of my living at it. I was just a dreamer. I was just really grinding and trying to get to that point. And then Sweetwater came around, which was a TV show that I hosted with my buddy Joey Nania for 8 seasons actually. And I started to finally get some momentum on the sponsorship side, and that's when I started to be able to start paying the majority of my bills fishing. And then when I got to the tour level, I had already kind of got some experience on how to represent companies and how to help move product and build an audience and things like that. And then once I made the FLW tour and subsequently the MLF Pro circuit, I was able to make it, at least get close to breaking even, something around there, before I made a cast. And then I made some good checks. I made some good money fishing the pro circuit. So since 2019, I've been able to pay off my credit card debt, and so it's been pretty nice. It's still, we're not rolling in the cash by any means, but it's been an awesome last 5 or 6 years, and I've learned a lot about the sport, in the industry, and what it takes to do this for a living. And so that's the reason why I wanted to do this video, was because I hear a lot of people, on social media, in person. I just hear a lot of negativity around the viability of making a living fishing. Okay. And so I wanted to kind of just share my opinion on that topic, because I was that young angler once, and I was listening to these people. It's always been the case that there's been people that say you can't make a living fishing, it's just too expensive. And those people are right, but they're also very wrong when they're saying something like that, because it just depends on how you look at it. Now, tournament fishing is my passion, like competitive fishing is my passion. If I had the choice, if I could just tournament fish and not have to worry about anything else, I mean, that's where I want to be. But I realized early on that that's not the job. That's not what we do as professional fishermen. At times, as far as like right now, back in the early days of competitive bass fishing, or what I consider the peak of maybe not the peak of tournament fishing, but like the early 2000s was like a very, very good period in bass fishing. The late 90s, that period was very, very good. Lots of interest. You had FLW coming up that was really, creating a competitive atmosphere. And so you had two major tours that were competing against each other. You had a lot of anglers that were learning how to promote, the not only the sport, but these different companies and help move product. You saw a lot of endemic or non-endemic companies come into the sport. And so that was kind of, I think that was one of the major milestone periods in the sport. And but what you saw back then is you didn't have social media. There wasn't a lot of there was a big barrier to entry when it came to creating your own platform. There was television, there was radio, and of course you had various different types of print media as well. So creating your own platform, starting a TV show was relatively costly, and so there was a barrier to entry there. And so it was hard to create your own platform. And I feel like back then the marketing dollars, you had a relatively similar size pie of marketing dollars in the industry, but you had less people taking slices of that. You had certain ways that a company could invest their sponsorship dollars, TV, print, radio, but the angler sponsorship was huge back then, because that was like one of the major platforms that companies could utilize to help get attention on their brand and their products. And so anglers that were doing well, that were winning tournaments, that's all they needed, was that visibility from just their success. And so, anglers that had that success could demand top dollar for their representation, which didn't require much. Somebody would come up, a media person would come up with a notepad or a camera in their face. They'd take pictures, they'd take video, they'd take notes, and that's, and then they'd walk away, and the angler really didn't have to create his own content, because the content creators were coming to him. But nowadays, with the introduction of social media, you've got a ton of different ways to build an audience, and it's getting harder for all those other traditional media sources, whether it's print or television. Even, podcasts are actually pretty hot right now, which is kind of radio. So those are kind of like, struggling kind of media to a certain extent, depending on the actual platform. But then you've got people that before they had that barrier of entry to create their own platform, but now they've got Facebook, they've got Instagram, they've got TikTok, they've got YouTube. And so you saw all those people that were influencers start to get a lot of those sponsor dollars, that previously was just going to the anglers or to, the tournament organizations, the TV, print, radio. And so nowadays you have relatively the same amount of pie, but you've got a lot more pieces getting taken from it in this industry. So the reason why I'm saying this, and I'm going off on this big tangent, is that before, tournament fishing was tournament fishing was a really, really viable way to make a living, because just being a successful tournament angler got the attention, and the content creators came to you. By and large, you didn't have to do all you didn't have to create the content, because other people wanted to come to you to create the content for them. But nowadays, and now we'll get into because that sounds like a negative, but really, if you look at it the right way, it's a very, very big positive, especially if you're a young angler getting into this sport. You know, tournament fishing is definitely going to be, you know, some years it's going to be a loss. You know, it's not going to always be a profit, and sometimes it's rarely a profit, you know, when it comes to certain levels of the sport. You know, fishing the opens, you're not making money fishing the opens generally. You might have a good year, you might have a 2 good years, but it's not like a viable year-to-year plan. But what the real job nowadays is it is to build value for you know, sponsors and companies within the industry. Build value for the industry as a whole, and it'll come back to you. So my mantra is always get people excited about fishing and teach them how to do it better. If you do those two things, you know, you start building these platforms, such as utilizing YouTube like we're doing here, Instagram, Facebook. If you use those platforms to get people excited about fishing and teach them how to do it better, you can build those platforms, you can build an audience, and you're creating value, and you're not only creating value for sponsors, but you're creating value for the sport as a whole. And that's exactly what you need to do. And so really, when people say that you can't make a living as a professional fisherman, or it's getting really hard to make a living as a professional fisherman, I could see it being harder. But it's never been a better time to be a young up-and-coming angler who doesn't have the tournament credentials yet. You know, you don't have the major tournament wins or anything like that, but you have the drive and you have the right mindset, and you go out there and do the work and promote the sport, try to build the sport, and share knowledge and build an audience. If you do that, you can make a living in this sport. I mean, that's essentially what is pushing the needle right now in the industry, is just selling product. And that's how it's always been, but it's just a different way to be able to you know, sell that same product or promote those same businesses. So if you're looking to get into this sport, okay, number one, you can do it. You can make a living as a professional fisherman. However, the job is not tournament fishing. You know, you have to be you have to have a little bit of a nest egg or a little bit of wealth to be able to just tournament fish, nothing else. Maybe you have a side business. There's nothing wrong with that. Having a side business that tees you up to be able to go out and tournament fish. But it's a tough lifestyle if you want to actually just tournament fish and play that, you know, expenses to payout game. That is a tough balance. But the real job is the business side of the sport. You know, when people say get a real job, you know, and they say it all the time. Whenever I talk about, you know, professional fishing, make a living fishing, I get a lot of comments saying, you know, get a real job. This is for sure a real job. You're helping to sell product. You're helping to sell product, and helping to promote a sport in an industry that people are, you know, passionate about. And that is as legit of a job as I can imagine. And so, but that is the position. So if you're getting into this sport, make sure that you focus in on the ways that you can start creating value in the sport. I took a marketing class, or I got a marketing degree in college. I wouldn't say that was as helpful as it probably should have been. It was pretty broad. A lot of the stuff that I learned that was most helpful was from books. So you don't have to necessarily get a degree, but focus all your energy on learning how to be a good promoter, a good you know, public speaker, you know, how to create good content, and just apply yourself to it. It is a industry that you're going to have to, it's very, very saturated. So you're going to have to spend a lot of time and maintain pressure on, you know, just keep on doing it, be consistent, you know, and what I call maintaining pressure. You know, Because if you back off just a little bit, you know, for a short period of time, man, you'll get passed up, especially with these social media algorithms. You know, it's like if you don't post a video, you know, consistently, or videos consistently, or make posts consistently, you start losing your following. But anyways, guys, I just wanted to do this video kind of as a motivational piece for you young anglers out there that are hearing a lot of people say that you can't make a living fishing. You can. Just make sure you focus on the right thing. Tournament fishing at best is a source of bonus money and credibility. And it's obviously it's our passion. You know, we want to go out there, we want to compete, we're addicted to it. So that's good, but you got to be able to do the other things well to be able to pay for that. And if you do that well, you can get your expenses paid for, you can pay your bills, and then the tournament winnings are the cherry on top. You know, that is what you can kind of ferret away or reinvest or whatever you need to do. And so these are just things that I've learned over the short term. I've got a long road ahead of me. I'm not where I want to be at all, but I've worked really, really hard, and I'm very, very happy to say that I'm a you know, professional fisherman. I make my living fishing, so it 100% can be done. You don't have to be, you know, at the top, you know, 1% of the sport or whatever percentage of the sport to be able to pay your bills fishing. You just got to do it the right way. But anyways, guys, if any of you out there that are interested in being a professional fisherman, want more information, or have any questions, drop a comment below, and I'll try to do some follow-up videos on topics such as this. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you trust the process in both business and fishing, and I'm going to see you out on the water. Take care.